good morning. Thank you for arriving on time, and I think we can get started. My name is Georgia-Cumberland, and today's topic, just in case you all need to, you know where you are, it's Introduction to Medical Risk Management and Child Safety Issues. Is everyone aware of the policy booklet that you can find online? Georgia-Cumberland Pathfinder Policy Manual. Okay, those policies are important because it guides what is important and what to do and how to prepare and what to do if certain events occur. And it's very important because it affects child safety, Pathfinder safety, liability, and other topics like that. If you looked at the description of the course, I noticed that they added specific things. It says it also covers fast treatment of 3 common life-threatening medical conditions of youth: asthma, allergies, and diabetes. It's not in this particular slide set, so I wanted to kind of go over that quickly. These are important because they're potentially life-threatening. Every staff and director should be aware who in their Pathfinder group have certain illnesses that could really be very important. And asthma, allergies, and diabetes is one. And I would probably add seizure disorder, epilepsy as the other as well. And making sure, first of all, that you have some discussion with the parent, not just rely on the forms itself, but just get an idea of how severe it is, what medicines to use. And just basically a quick thing: if this happens, what shall I do? Should I call you, call 911? Is this a minor thing, major thing? Has it ever become life-threatening? Has it ever required emergency room? When you just see allergies, it's really difficult to know that the person just has hay fever allergies that results in itchy eyes and congestion, or a full-blown asthma attack. So you kind of have a good idea what's going on, or some idea what's going on. And medications. Asthmatics, once they're getting into trouble from a standpoint of symptoms, they start off becoming short of breath, but many times they may not be presenting as that. They may be presenting as cough that just doesn't get better. And it's good to recognize anything wrong, something not right with that person with a history of asthma or allergies, to make sure you stay on top of it right away and render treatment. If it's usually they will have a rescue inhaler, and that's what will help them get out of trouble. And if they don't respond to that, then you should probably do something else pretty quickly. In our Pathfinder events, we usually have Kathy and I and Jennifer Verduzco. We function as healthcare providers and first aid and first responders in a way, so you can catch any of us if you have any questions. Diabetes. If you're dealing with youth, chances are they have type 1 diabetes, and the differentiating thing between type 1 and type 2 is that type 1s require insulin. Type 2 diabetics may or may not need insulin, and if their blood sugar gets out of control, type 2s usually feel bad but will not end up in an emergency situation, whereas type 1s, they quickly can. And the problems with type 1 diabetics is that their sugars can go too high, and most commonly, it goes too low. They give themselves a regular insulin and skip their meal. Their sugar level will go down. They'll start behaving abnormally. They may look a little confused, agitated. They might become lethargic and very, very agitated, and then they will get lethargic and they might actually pass out and have seizures. And it's quite a difficult thing to see a child in that situation. And if you can recognize it and say, are you a diabetic? Did you take your insulin? Did you have a meal today? How are you feeling? And if they cannot answer coherently, then you know they're in trouble. The first thing to do is before you even check their sugars, give them some sugar to take. Juice, gum, any type of sugar, because most people kids will respond to sugars pretty quickly. If you made a mistake and their sugar is actually too high, you haven't done them a whole lot of harm by giving them a little extra sugar. You're likely to save them by actually save them because they're likely the other way around, their sugar being too low, that needs to be raised up. Okay, so those are things just to recognize. And of course, if they have history of seizure disorder, then make sure they're on their medications. If their condition is stable and they're taking their medication, you'll unlikely encounter any problems over a weekend or Pathfinder events. But you just have to be aware that you can't assume that children will take their medications as directed. So you have to be careful.
Should we administer it to them?
That's between you and the parent. The Pathfinder being a minor, they probably should have an adult at least have the authority to give medications. And the medical history form and permission form usually will give that right for privilege for you to, as a parent, as a staff, to administer it. But the parent might say that my child is perfectly responsible to take his own meds, and you can, that's okay. Yeah. Okay. The policy is important, yes, but it's not very exciting and interesting to read from cover to cover. It's good. And so I wanted to make this somewhat a fun exercise by having a little Jeopardy game with all the things that are covered, or some of the things that are covered in the policy that we think is important. And Mitsuhei, my wife, has a policy in front of her, so if you have any questions, we can expound on any particular things. We will split the room in half. Team 1 and Team 2. Let me just do that. Okay, everyone's aware of the format of the Jeopardy game, please, right? Okay, so these are the topics: volunteers and caregivers, driver's policy, vehicles, safety and security, and insurance. And just to make things fun, we'll keep score. Yeah. Okay.
So if one answer, correct answer is 1 point?
No, it's 10 according to the points. Yeah. Okay, and usually the questions with least points are less difficult. I don't think I made it particularly that way, so it's just random, I think. So we'll give the team 1, and you guys can confer and come up with one answer as a consensus, please, okay? All right. I'm going to, I'm going to start this again because okay, so please, choose a topic. Team 1. Team 1, Team 2. Vehicles for 50. Oops, I'm so sorry. I think For long trips, the recommended length of time a driver should drive in one stretch is, according to the policy, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours. They chose C, 4 hours. The answer is B. Okay. 3 hours for long trips. Ensure that there are sufficient drivers. That's important too. Okay.
What does that mean? Stop for 15 minutes?
Yeah. That's right. Take breaks. That's right.
So you can have the same driver as long as you stop for 15 minutes, or you still have to have a different driver?
No. You can have the same driver as long as you rest. All right. Team 2. Driver policy for 50. In an event of an accident, whose insurance will be considered as primary and secondary. Is it the volunteers insurance as primary or Adventist risk management insurance? Volunteers, that's correct. Okay, volunteers insurance will be primary, and Adventist risk management will be secondary up to $3 million. Oops, I'm sorry. I keep on choosing the wrong. Okay. Team 1, please. Sorry? Insurance for 40. Okay. In an event of an injury during a Pathfinder activity where the parent of the injured child is able to take him or her to the emergency room, the parent should be given what form? What particular form? The insurance form? The insurance form. Okay, it's the miscellaneous accident coverage form. The coverage is secondary. Their primary insurance is primary. And in case if the parent does not have insurance, a letter from parents or injured person must be provided stating that they do not have coverage.
But isn't that the same form that he basically said?
Miscellaneous accident coverage form is a specific form, actually. Yeah. Okay. All right. Team 2, please. The following methods of discipline are appropriate to use in correcting inappropriate behaviors. A, you will need to sit here until you calm down. B, don't make me hurt you. C, administer a sharp slap on the wrists. Or D, none of the above. It's not your role or responsibility to administer discipline. Do I hear D? Okay, you have to have a consensus. I hear more A's. Would that be your? That's correct. Okay, refrain from physical and verbal attacks and corporal punishment, which are inappropriate behaviors and should never be used as a discipline. Timeouts and sit in that chair may be useful discipline methods to use in children. Okay. Very good. Okay. Yeah, but that's true. But no, let's give them a chance. Let's go back and forth. I'll make a slight modification. Okay, team 1, please.
Volunteers 30.
Volunteers for 30. Rules designed to protect you and your ministry against charges of abuse include all of these except A. Now, these are in your policy, so you have to become somewhat familiar with the terms here. The volunteer screening rule, the 21-year-old rule, the 6-month rule, the 2-person rule, and a glass window rule. These are all correct except there's one's not correct. B, do I hear B? D? B. Bravo, B. That's correct. B is the correct answer. B is false, okay? Okay, so the volunteer screening rule indicates that you have to complete and clear the background check online, and it used to be called Shield of Vulnerable. Now it's called the Verify Volunteers, and there's the website. 6-month rule means that never recruit a volunteer who has been a member for less than 6 months. Two-person rule, make sure that there are at least 2 adults present at all times. Glass window rule means always see that there is glass in or around the door to the rooms in which you will teach children. Otherwise, leave the door open. Okay, and 21 refers to driving. It's not really about abuse.
I was gonna say, doesn't 21 refer to driving?
Yes, okay. All right. Team 2, I believe.
Voluntary caregivers reporting.
Okay. When becoming aware that a child may be a victim of child abuse, most states have legal requirements to report such suspicions. In addition to this, a supervising adult needs to A, report this to a church elder or pastor, report this to the conference treasurer, report this to risk management, or all of the above. This developed a lot of conversation last year. That would be. Well, I hear A. Is that? Okay, the answer is A. Answer is actually all of the above, according. Okay. Yes, because it affects liability and yeah, anything legal, I think that's they're in the loop. So be aware of the signs of abuse and be aware of the legal requirements for reporting it, okay? And the adult is required to report this to the church elder, pastor, or conference treasurer, or oh, my mistake, I'll give you that thing. It's one of the, it's all or one of the, any of the above. So we'll give them that treatment. I'll make that correction. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay. Safety and security for 50. In regards to fire safety and campfires, identify the false statement. A use of liquid fuel fire starters for campfire is prohibited. Only flashlights and battery-operated lanterns are permitted inside any Pathfinder tent. Tiki torches must be kept 15 feet away from a tent. Stop, drop, and roll should be taught to put out clothing fires. The false statement. A, do I hear A? A? Okay. Answer is C. Fire starters, liquid fire starters is prohibited. And no open flame lanterns such as tiki torches, regardless of distance. Okay? All right. Insurance for 50. Okay, please choose a false statement. A, correct. Okay. The conference accident insurance is secondary coverage after the family insurance is used. There is an exception. It's in the case of gross negligence in the part of the conference or the Pathfinder leader. Okay. Can I have a topic, please? T1. Caregivers. I think it's been taken. I have 20. Okay, true or false? Regarding the policy of asking a child's permission before physically touching him or her, one exception to this rule exists. When treating a child's injury, permission to touch and uncover clothing is implied. Therefore, first asking permission to touch in this situation is not needed. False. Ask the child's permission before touching him or her, even when responding to an injury or a problem. Okay?
What's the legal ramification if the child says no, and you see that they need treatment?
If they say no, and it's going to be in a difficult situation, if a child is in an unsafe environment, like in a stream, and they're going to be swept away, and you do what you have to do. Yes, and first responders always use that judgment to say, is it safe or not safe? And if the child is slipping into unconsciousness, you can't imply that no is a rational answer. You have to make your own decision.
You ask anyway, and then you follow your own judgment.
Yes, yeah, and that puts you at criticism. Yes, open to criticism, but that you have to do what you have to do for the child's safety, right? Okay. Team 2, please. For 40, safety and security. The policy regarding fireworks states, it is allowed as long as the club adheres to local fire laws, ordinances, and regulations. B, it's prohibited from being secured, displayed, or used in any Pathfinder activities. Or C, its use is strictly limited to the fireworks honor. B, that's correct. In this conference, our conference prohibits the securing, use, and display of fireworks. There is no such thing yet as a fireworks. They did have one, didn't they? But that's what I heard. Okay. Okay. Team 1, please. Sorry? Driver's policy for 40 points. The Adventist risk management requires minimum automobile liability and medical insurance, payments insurance. The recommendation from the ARM is that the volunteer drivers have what dollar amount for liability coverage? This is tough. 250. It's actually 100, 300. Okay. 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 2, please. You guys. Vehicle for 40. Who's responsible for any comprehensive or collision deductibles? This is deductibles that may apply to damage done to a borrowed vehicle. The driver or the owner, or this needs to be determined between the parties, preferably beforehand.
The owner. My insurance is the owner. If somebody borrows my vehicle, it's my insurance. If you allow it.
This is, okay, so answer.
As long as it's a B and C.
B or C? Okay, the policy says C, but a B is correct as well because that's legally, that's the way it is. But the policy says that you should kind of discuss this before it actually could occur.
Regardless of if you can discuss it or not, B is what happens.
Yeah, regardless or not, but the policy says this should be discussed.
If somebody backs out of the agreement without it being on paper, then you're ahead.
That's true. So these kinds of in-between things, the policy says, the Georgia-Cumberland says you should agree to this because
I was sued over
So even if I had the agreement when I
Wow. Okay.
insurance settled, but I'm just saying.
All right. I wish we had a more colorful way of determining what's been asked already, but sorry? No, there's 30s left. Driver's policy, there's 30s left, please. Insurance for 30. Okay. True or false? All honors offered by the North American Division of Pathfinders are approved and covered by the term is local conference insurance. False. Okay. So if you're not sure, you should contact your conference risk management and see if there's a cost to purchasing a rider for a certain event, a certain honors. Okay? Okay.
This question came up earlier in one of the other classes, because we have like things like skateboarding honors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they said that you can get a rider, but can you also get a waiver saying, I'm just curious, because you get the rider, but can you get a parent to sign a waiver saying that evidence risk management is not liable for, say, a skateboarding accident when you're working on the skateboarding honor?
I probably would talk to the risk manager coordinator at the conference. I don't want to give you that advice. I don't know the answer. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Okay, there's 3 30-point questions left. I think we gotta go this side. They just answered. Oh, sorry, that's their turn. Okay, sorry. Drivers for 30. Okay. Okay, complete the statement. Providing excellent supervision is the best way to prevent accidents. Very good. Yay. Okay. Team 1, please. Vehicles for 30. What passenger van is specifically identified in the policy not to purchase, borrow, or rent for any reason? 15 passenger vans. That's right. They're no longer to be insured, it says. Okay. Okay. The use of mobile cell phones is not allowed when driving. As a volunteer for the GC conference, is there an exception to this rule? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, if you're using a Bluetooth or a mount for GPS.
So I'm hearing if you have a hands-free device.
Well, so is an exception or is there an exception?
So there is an exception, and hands-free device is the exception. That's your answer? Yes, that's the answer. Okay. Hands-free for emergency services. I can't give that to you. It's only for emergencies and if you have hands-free. So okay. It's okay. Yeah, that's not serving as a phone, it's serving as a GPS, right? So that's not, yeah. Unless you talk to it. Thank you. Okay, I have 20 points items left in team 1. Insurance, 20. Your Pathfinders wants to do the following activities this year. Which activities are completely excluded from coverage and is prohibited? Choose all the right answers. All-terrain vehicles, trampoline, bungee jumping, and mountain biking. Bungee jumping? You include trampoline? Okay. The first three. Is that the consensus? That's correct. You cannot. It's about liability, health and liability. Yeah, safety. If you ask any emergency room people, what's the number one hazard, household hazard, they'll say trampoline.
Even having a trampoline in your house raises your homeowner's insurance.
That's right. Okay.
Although they're prohibited. Well, they're not covered by
We went this way. Okay. Security for 20. Okay. Complete the state. These are all true statements, but I want you to complete the statement here. Okay, so daytime visitors to Camporee are required to do all the followings prior to the registration deadline. Be approved by the director, be added to the club's adult staff list by their director, complete and clear something, and purchase a day pass in advance. Verify volunteers. That's correct. Okay, very nice. We've had events, Pathfinder events at our camp here many times where security people could not let people through because they were not on the list of people who were registered and had cleared the Shield of Vulnerable before and verify volunteers. And it gets very, very disappointing and people get very upset, but we are really have been serious about making sure that all the Pathfinders are safe. And in today's world, there are a lot of people trying to get in who should not be in. You know, they're predators or they have some domestic legal things that have with restraining orders and other things that are out there, and we really do need to adhere to that. Yeah.
What happens if a parent is trying to pick up a child from volunteer do it? Does the Pathfinder staff bring the child to the entrance gate at that case, or what is the procedure that's supposed to happen?
That's right.
The Pathfinder brings the child to the entrance gate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We stop them at the gate.
Right. Okay. So the answer is, yeah, the parent who cannot go into the premises has to wait at the gate for the Pathfinder to come out to be picked up, right? Right. Okay. 20 points, I think is this side. Drivers? Vehicles for 20. Okay, if damage is done by or occurs to a borrowed vehicle, the responsibility lies with the driver's insurance, the vehicle owner's insurance, or admin's risk.
This is the same question.
Same question. It's similar, but this is, yeah. B. Okay. The owner. Okay. All of these requirements about the volunteer drivers are true except minimum age is 21. They must have a valid driver's license. They must have no fault accidents in the last 3 years. Or they must register with the ARM to obtain liability insurance. D. Do I hear D? Okay. Answer is D. They do not give out insurance, right? Okay. The main point is 21 years. Okay. If you have a TLT that has become 18 and it wants to be part of the Pathfinder staff and they want to help out, until they're 21, they can't drive other people. Okay.
They still have to have two of them.
They still have to have, yes, that's the two-person rule, yes. And, yes?
21 rule, is that to drive others if they drive themselves to an event and they're under 21? Without anybody else on the event?
If they're driving on their own, I don't see, I think they're driving others. Yeah. they're on their own. Yes? That's correct. If they're driving themselves, right. 18. Conference's vehicle is I think it's 21. Yeah, yeah.
But even 16, if they're driving themselves, you can't really stop them.
Right. You can't. That's right. You can't really stop them. But if they are part of, if they were functioning as a Pathfinder staff with a whole bunch of Pathfinder stuff and other things, then they are no longer on their own. They're part of the club. And I think that.
Carrying supplies and not people.
I have to get clarification. I would be honest. I'll be making things up if I gave you an answer. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
a pastor driving in a car has to have that large amount of insurance. And if he gets hit, they sue us and not the conference because of that large amount of money. So I would think it probably would be, even if she's going to an event.
So if the person says you're on your own, you're not going as a part. If they assume that they're driving on their own because they have a car and they have a license and they don't want to ride with a group, if that's assumed, then that's something. But this is in capacity of a club.
Driving by themselves with a truckload of.
That would be. I would say that would be a little bit on thin ice as far as they're driving as part of a club.
Well, like I said, a pastor's responsible, I mean, they make him get that insurance because they don't want to be sued.
That's
Well,
for
why?
people in the car.
No, that is for him also. That you have to have that insurance so that if he's driving and he hits somebody, the conference won't be sued because he is a
If he's on
pastor.
official church business.
Right. Well, that's the difference. I think if they're officially in church business, that would be one thing.
So that would be the same thing, wouldn't it, with a Pathfinder driving to a Pathfinder event, being a part of the club?
Well, yeah, call first and find out. Yeah, I think it's mainly around keeping the occupants safe, and they drew the line at 21. So if the person's on his own driving to a Pathfinder event because he owns a car and he's 19 years old, I don't think it really applies to this particular objective or.
But if you're in a caravan going to Camboree, then maybe you should call her.
Yes. Okay, we have 4 left. Insurance? Anyone come for insurance? Insurance? Yeah? Your Pathfinder wants to attend the following activities this year. Which activities are not automatically covered according to the current conference policy? Okay, soccer, cycling, rock climbing, snow skiing, and kayaking. Which activities? So could be more than one answer. Last 3?
Rock climbing and kayak.
Okay, so I have rock climbing and kayaking, and I have rock climbing, snow skiing, and kayaking. Snow skiing is okay. I hear last 3. Rock climbing is the only one. Okay. And the objective of this is that if you outing for rock climbing wall facilities, indoor facilities climbing, that above 6 feet is also something that you should have riders for that you purchase. Okay? I guess that's the reason we have a rock climbing wall in the gym and we never use it. Okay. Okay, three choices there. Policy, let's see, driver's policy. Okay, screening volunteers for good driving records includes all drivers completing the volunteer driver questionnaire. This form was developed as a mandatory requirement for all drivers aged 18 to 20 and voluntary for those over 21. By a way, for the church to screen volunteers because the church has an obligation to know, or a way for the church to be released from any liability in event that there is an accident that results in a litigation. B. Answer is B. Okay. Yeah. It's mandatory regardless of your age, okay? And signing any form does not release the church from any liability. That's just not true. So, okay? Okay. Vehicles and safety and security. Safety and security. Okay, what form must be taken to all Pathfinder activities where the parent is not present? Health and medical record form. Okay. If you're going on a campa, I think permission slip and those kinds of things are important, but health and medical form really is important. Okay. Always with you. And in Camp Paris, we've been going around asking clubs, visiting clubs, do you have your health and record form for your club? It's really important. The other thing is fire extinguishers. You have to have that with you too, okay? And a first aid kit, right. A year ago or 2 years ago, we displayed a first aid kit and said if your club needs one and want us to put one together and order one for you, then we will do so. And it does take a few weeks for us to put that together. We're ordering the bags and other things. If you're interested, please let Mari know and she'll let us know. Give us about 4 weeks leeway if you are wanting to have that. I'd be happy to put that together. In the policy, there's a list of recommended supplies that it should be in your first aid kit. And some of them, a lot of those medications have an expiration date. So it's not, I can't say it's very inexpensive. Sometimes this does have a cost to keeping it up in addition to the initial cost, but it's something that you should have, okay? Okay, we're at the last. Use of non-old or borrowed vehicles by the club volunteers is A, prohibited by the ARM, B, not recommended but permissible if guidelines are followed, or C, encouraged by the ARM as it spreads the liability risk to more parties. That's correct. They don't recommend it, but if you follow the guidelines, it's okay. Okay. I hope this was not as much boring of learning a policy as possible, and you had a little bit of fun and learned something at the same time. It at least makes me encouraged to look at the policy a little bit closer because we all have the same objective of keeping everyone safe as possible and avoiding misunderstandings and other things after the adverse event occurs.